A stunning move on the global stage is sending shockwaves through Washington, Brussels, and the Middle East tonight. Russia and Iran have signed an eye-watering $25 billion deal to build not one, not two, but four brand-new nuclear power plants on Iranian soil. This isn't just about energy, it's about shifting alliances, economic lifelines, and a direct challenge to Western pressure. If you thought tensions in the Middle East were already high, this latest development just turned the heat up several notches. Stay tuned, because what's happening here is going to shape the next decade of global geopolitics. The deal was formally announced after months of quiet negotiations between Moscow and Tehran, representing one of the largest energy cooperation agreements in recent years. According to officials from both countries, Russia's state-owned nuclear energy corporation Rosatom will spearhead the construction of 4 nuclear reactors in Iran, with funding and technical expertise heavily backed by Moscow. Iranian state media hailed the deal as a historic partnership, while Russian officials described it as proof that sanctions and political isolation cannot stop cooperation between two nations determined to push back against Western dominance. For Iran, the timing couldn't be more critical. After years of crippling sanctions targeting its oil revenues, banking system, and trade routes, Tehran has been searching desperately for ways to diversify its energy infrastructure. While it has vast oil and gas reserves, the leadership in Tehran sees nuclear power as a long-term solution to supply its population with energy while conserving fossil fuel exports. Iranian officials insist that this deal is purely for civilian purposes and claim that the plants will be monitored by international regulators to ensure compliance. But skeptics, especially in Washington, Tel Aviv, and European capitals, see something far more alarming. Critics argue that building 4 nuclear power plants with Russian technology doesn't just provide electricity, it also expands Iran's technical know-how, uranium enrichment capacity, and infrastructure that could, in the future, support a weapons program. Western intelligence agencies have long suspected Tehran of maintaining ambitions for a nuclear weapons capability despite Iran's repeated denials. With Russia now stepping in as its biggest backer, the West fears this agreement will make it harder than ever to pressure Iran back to the negotiating table on its nuclear activities. The political implications are massive. For Russia, this deal serves multiple purposes. Economically, it gives Moscow a vital market at a time when it faces punishing Western sanctions over the war in Ukraine. Billions in revenue will flow to Russian companies, creating jobs and strengthening Moscow's control over global nuclear energy markets. But strategically, it's an even bigger win. Russia is showing the world that it can still forge massive international agreements despite Western efforts to isolate it. By partnering with Iran, Moscow cements a powerful alliance in the Middle East, positioning itself as a protector and partner for countries resisting U.S. and European influence. For Iran, the symbolism is equally powerful. The deal signals that Tehran is no longer dependent on Western negotiations or concessions. Instead, it has found a major global partner willing to ignore Washington's threats and push ahead with cooperation. Iranian leaders hope this new chapter will help solidify their role as a regional powerhouse and send a clear message to adversaries. Isolation is not working. Unsurprisingly, the reaction from the West has been swift and sharp. U.S. officials expressed grave concern, warning that any nuclear cooperation with Iran could have serious proliferation risks. Some members of Congress are already calling for new sanctions targeting Russian nuclear exports, while others are urging tighter monitoring of Iran's nuclear facilities. Israel, meanwhile, is openly alarmed. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the deal represented a dangerous escalation and vowed that Israel would defend itself against all threats, no matter the source. European leaders, still struggling with an energy crisis of their own, voiced unease but stopped short of threatening immediate action, wary of further escalating tensions with Moscow. Beyond the politics, the deal also carries major economic and technological implications. Each of the 4 planned nuclear plants is expected to generate thousands of megawatts of electricity, helping Iran reduce its reliance on oil for domestic consumption. This could free up millions of barrels of crude for export, giving Tehran a vital source of hard currency even under sanctions. Russian engineers will not only build the reactors, but also train Iranian staff, creating a new generation of nuclear scientists and technicians in the country. For Rosatom, the deal expands its global footprint, reinforcing Russia's role as one of the world's leading nuclear technology exporters. But not everyone is convinced the project will go smoothly. Critics point to Iran's struggling economy, which has been battered by years of sanctions, inflation, and currency devaluation. Even with Russian backing, questions remain about how Iran will finance and sustain such a massive project. Environmental concerns also loom large. Iran is prone to earthquakes, and some experts worry about the safety of building large nuclear reactors in seismically active zones. Local activists are already raising concerns about transparency, safety standards, and potential ecological risks. Still, both Moscow and Tehran appear determined to move forward. Construction is expected to begin within the next year, with the first plant scheduled to come online by the early 2030s. For now, the announcement is being celebrated in Tehran as a diplomatic and economic triumph, with state media broadcasting images of officials shaking hands and declaring a new era of cooperation. Russian media is equally enthusiastic, portraying the deal as another example of Moscow's defiance in the face of Western pressure. The broader consequences, however, may take years to unfold. Will this partnership accelerate a new nuclear arms race in the Middle East? Will it spark even greater confrontation between Russia and the West? Or could it, paradoxically, provide Iran with enough civilian energy stability to reduce tensions over its nuclear ambitions? Analysts remain divided, but one thing is clear: this is not just another energy deal. It's a high-stakes geopolitical gamble involving billions of dollars, national pride, and the balance of power in one of the world's most volatile regions. What we are witnessing here is a dramatic shift in alliances. As Washington struggles to maintain pressure on both Moscow and Tehran, these two sanctioned states are building bridges and reactors that could alter the geopolitical landscape for decades. The United States and its allies must now decide: do they ramp up confrontation, risking further instability, or do they attempt to engage through new channels of diplomacy? Meanwhile, ordinary Iranians, many of whom face daily struggles with inflation and power shortages, are left wondering whether this massive investment will truly benefit them or simply serve as another pawn in the global chessboard of power politics. In the end, this $25 billion nuclear deal is far more than just numbers on a contract. It's a statement of defiance, a symbol of shifting power, and a potential flashpoint that could either stabilize or destabilize the Middle East further. The world is watching closely because the stakes could not be higher. Russia and Iran have just rewritten part of the global energy and political playbook, and the consequences will reverberate far beyond Tehran and Moscow.